Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Poetry Live down at the Erie County Public Library. I want to thank everybody that's here tonight. Once again, we're gathered to hear some fantastic poetry from some of our fine poets of Erie. Just a couple things before we get started. Of course, like every time, we all want to be, it's kind of weird because there's not people here today other than us, but still, we want to keep our masks on. We want to social distance, and we also want to make sure that everybody's okay with being recorded, that kind of stuff. But I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue tonight. Otherwise, the only other thing I really want to bring up is that on the November 17th, Erie County Public Library is having a poetry symposium, and it'll be all online on our Facebook. It'll be a Zoom thing. You can go to our Facebook and join. And you can also register if you'd like, and that way it's a little bit easier. You'll get a reminder email. But we're just going to have a couple local poets and publishers who are going to talk about publishing and answer some questions. So, if you all would like to be there, that'd be great. Okay. So I think that's the big thing I wanted to mention this week. Otherwise, I think we'll get started. As always, 2 poems, 3 if they're all pretty short. Not that we're really hurting for time today, but it's the general rule. And, introduce yourself, and then when you're done, you can go sit down. As always, anybody in the audience who wants to come read, they can come up to whenever there's sort of a lull in the movement. I will also read today. Normally I try to have paper, but the printer I use is broken. So instead, we'll do this. On what would have been your 9th birthday. Every year I imagine this is the last day of winter. A car tries up the ice hill twice. Yesterday, even the tow truck slid into the snow and waited hours. After 4 years, my sister tells me how you died. In a hospital, on a machine that made noises. The 2 of you were alone until a nurse turned everything off. This is how memory stills. I remember before the call, I was on a bus back to Kalamazoo thinking about the hands of a woman at work I wanted to have sex with. A Mennonite couple argued at the front of the bus in soft words. The woman I love now never knew you. I often forget this. At the back of the pantry, 3 pouches of loose leaf tea, a box of cupcake mix, instant cocoa, a paper cup. Thank you. Okay. And this is another poem. Both of these are a little bit on the older side. They're from my manuscript. And this one is called After Being Asked, Where Do You See Yourself in 10 Years? I hope the woman who loves me will push me off the bed of a truck into the woods near Richland. An old couple will find me on a picnic and laugh, say to be young again, and spread a yellow blanket over me. It would be simple to be their table, but by then I would be gaseous and soft. They would scream, there would be police and paperwork. Instead, it is night and the balcony is empty. Someone laughs in a window across the street, and I lean forward, waiting for words. There's wind. This is how things are. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I'm not the kind of poet who memorizes his own poetry, although I probably should. So tonight, this is the political poetry portion of the program. I'm your host, Art Vanguard. And tonight is the continuation of the theme, Write a Poem About Work in 2020. And along those lines, I'm going to talk to you about a job I held making shock absorber liners for Goodyear Tire and Rubber. It was a very hot job. It was a weird job. You were hustling because it was a piece rate system. So that means the more pieces you made that night or that week, you get paid 10 cents or 5 cents an hour more for the week. So everybody was hustling, and it was very hot because this is rubber coming out of an oven to cure it, to make it a hard, stiff piece of shock absorber lining. So you start out, you have to do what they call blow it on, which is you put a pole on an air hose, a foot-controlled air hose. You step on the air hose, it blows air up, and you take the little sleeve and you let the air fill it up like a balloon, puff it up, and you slide it down onto the mold, and then take your air off, flip it over, and do the same thing. The mold was just a bar, but it had the shock absorber liner ribs on it and all that. And it was a hustle. You blow on a whole truckload, 12 bars both sides, you roll it off, you get another one, you do it, and the guy would take it, put it in the oven and cure it for whatever, 15 minutes, and then he'd take them out, and they'd be red hot, and you're wearing these big leather gloves, and you take them, when he gives you the red hot truck, you take it and you blow off the part, the completed one. You do that by sticking it in another air hose with a foot pedal, and you step on it, and it blows air down the sleeve, and it just puffs it up enough for a few seconds that you can whip out the pole. And then you have to yank, then step off it, you have to yank the shock absorber liner off the machine that you shoved it on to remove it, and throw it in a big box. And you do this all night long. And you do trucks of 24, and you just hustle. That's it. 8 hours straight of that, and in heat like crazy. So that was making shock absorber liners piece rate. The only thing that kept you on this job was the fact that you made the most money in the plant. Nobody else made more money than you, because piece rate really paid off if you could keep up with it. The more you made, the more pieces you made, the more piece rate you got. And the guys thought up all kinds of ways to cut corners. Anyhow, this is called making shock absorber liners. Now, I wrote it originally, and my wife edited it, and she didn't like the way I wrote it, so she rewrote it. So I'm going to have two versions of this poem, mine and Chrissy's. I hope she's watching. They both read nice, but her suggestion versus mine, we're artistic differences here. All right. Okay, and then there was this piece rates job where cash flowed like honey, making liners 24 hours a day for cars and trucks. It was hot and it was hectic, and we all made top-rate money. The pay was good, but the work was hard. Basically, it sucked. Blowing on the rubber sleeves was easy with the special tool. Then it's off into the oven with our carts of black gold. Time is money, so when they came back, there was no time to let them cool. They were red hot and ready to be freed from the grip of the mold. Blow the liner off and pop it free. This wasn't for the weak. And even though we rotated the jobs, it still took a toll on all of us. It took a few months to get the wrist strength to last the whole week. But once you got into the groove of this gig, you were taking home the bonus. I was the union steward for the third shift in this department. I did my job as diligently as I could each day, teaching new people about our contractual agreement and filing grievances, monitoring safety, and all disputes in pay. And thank you. And that was shock absorber liner. Now this is shock absorber liner, making shock absorber liners Chrissy's way. And then there was this piece rate job where cash flowed like honey. It was hot and it was hectic, and we all made top-rate money. Making liners 24 hours a day for cars and trucks. The pay was good, but the work was hard. Basically, the job sucked. An air hose and a special tool were used on the rubber sleeves to get them ready to go into the ovens, if you please. When they came back, they were also so hot that it didn't really matter. Time is money, and the more sleeves you make, and more sleeves would make our paychecks fatter. Blow the liner off and pop it free. It's not a job for the weak. It took a few months to get the wrist strength to last the whole week. Even though we rotated jobs, it still took a toll on all of us. But once you got it into the groove, you were taking home the bonus. I was the union steward for the third shift in this department, mostly teaching new people about our contractual agreement. I did my union job as diligently as I could each day, filing grievances, monitoring safety, and all disputes in pay. All right, and that was Chrissy's way on the shock absorber liners. This last poem, or this next poem, is called The Program Director at the Labor Education Center. And this job I got after Goodyear closed, and I applied for it. It was my first bureaucratic job where I wasn't working, straight eight. You had to kind of manage yourself. And being a program director, well, I guess I took on more than I could chew. I was very nervous about this job, and I was very lucky that they kept me as long as they did. Have you ever tried to put a square peg in a round hole, especially if you're a peg like me? The hole was the Labor Center's program director's job, and I tried most diligently to perform each task to the best of my abilities. That wasn't really the problem. Finding things to do between the classes and the semesters, that's what slowed down my momentum. Each day I started the morning off full of energy, but by the end of the day I was racked with guilt. Did I really do enough to earn all that money? Strange but true, this was really how I felt. Instead of, okay, hang on a minute. Strange but true, this is really how I felt. Instead of extra money for all my overtime and flexibility, I was given comp time instead. But a half day off in the middle of the week isn't my idea of fun. That's just the way I was bred. I did enjoy the workshops that helped organize. They felt empowering, and I hope the Labor Vision videos inspired thousands into workplace revolutionizing. And that's the end of that job, as you can see. A year and a half of my life. It was fun.
All right. Hi, my name is Lindsay, and I didn't memorize today because I think my brain finally ran out of RAM, and I don't have it coming with a USB drive. So we're going to see how this goes. I have a lot of hand gestures. We'll see. This first one I wrote, it's called Things I Didn't Know. After bursting into flames, I sifted through the ashes of my burnt feathers and started picking up pieces of me that I had forgotten. Dusting off old parts, I uncovered the truth that I had been so damaged by the fallout, I couldn't see how well you had been taking care of me. I thought you were keeping your distance, you were pulling away, maybe you weren't that interested. What I didn't realize was that you were holding me so delicately so that your fingers wouldn't touch my burning flesh. What I didn't realize was that I had been taught to be consumed, like meat devoured by lions, or that guilt was as easy to weaponize as anthrax. You showed me that red skin and bruised hearts didn't have to be my love language, that being a woman didn't have to mean giving a piece of myself away to make room for someone else. What I didn't realize was saying that I love you didn't have to be a transaction. I had been so damaged by the fallout that I can now see how well you had been loving me. What I didn't realize was that each time I thought you were keeping your distance, you were actually right. You were giving me the space to breathe for what seemed like the first time. What I didn't realize was that each time I thought you were pulling away, you were actually right next to me, giving me the respect that every woman deserves. What I didn't realize was that each time I thought maybe you weren't that interested, you were helping me to see how interesting I am, and you're still helping me to do that. I am growing back my feathers after burning parts of me I thought I needed. But now I know it's as gentle as loving myself back into existence. The next one is a cover, and if you haven't heard of Rudy Francisco, he's a great slam poet. I really, really love him. And this is a poem from his anthology, Helium. This poem is called My Honest Poem. I was born on July 27th. I hear that makes me a Leo. I have no idea what that means. I'm 5'6" and a half. I weigh 175 pounds. I don't know how to swim. I'm a sucker for a girl with a nice smile and clean sneakers. I'm still learning how to whisper. I'm loud in places I should be quiet. I'm quiet in places I should be loud. I was born feet first and have been backwards ever since. I like ginger ale a lot. I've been told that I give really bad hugs. People say it feels like I'm trying to escape. Sometimes it's because I am. I get really nervous every time somebody gets close enough to hear me breathe. I have an odd fascination with sandcastles and ice sculptures, things that only last a few moments. That's also why I fall in love with women who will never love me back. I know it sounds crazy. It's actually easier than it seems. And I think it's safer that way. Relationships remind me that I'm not afraid of heights or falling, but I'm afraid of what's going to happen when my body hits the ground. I'm clumsy. Yesterday, I tripped over my self-esteem and landed on my pride. It shattered like an iPhone with a broken face. Now I can't tell who's trying to give me a compliment. Sometimes I wonder what my bed sheets say about me when I'm not around. I wonder what the curtains would do if they found out about all the things I've done behind their backs. I've got a hamper full of really loud mistakes and a graveyard in my closet. I'm afraid that if I let you see my skeletons, you'll grind the bones into powder and get high on my fault lines. I've never been in the military, but I have a Purple Heart. I got it from beating myself up over things I can't fix. Some days I forget that my skin is not a panic room. Hi, my name is Rudy. I love frozen yogurt and people watching and laughing for absolutely no reason at all. I don't allow myself to cry as often as I need to. I have a solar-powered confidence and a battery-operated smile. My hobbies include editing my life story, hiding behind metaphors, and trying to convince my shadow that I'm someone worth following. I don't know much, but I do know this. Heaven is full of music, and God listens to my heartbeat on his iPod. It reminds him that we still have work to do.
Hi, I'm Chuck Joy. I'd like to read a couple of poems from this manuscript called Dreamville. But before that, I would like to read a poem I wrote yesterday, the day after the election. Election day, anyway. This poem is called What's Going On? Were we in this poem, we'd be celebrating a landslide. Oh, happy day. Our big family, everybody in their own way. Reality, what's going on, a complicated problem to solve. No place for wishing except in this poem. Thank you. This collection, Dreamville, is a project about place. The collection of poems, it's from 2006, all are themed to a fictional place called Dreamville. And there's characters and plot. And there are a few poems that are sort of philosophical. They're not so much about the place. So I thought I'd read a couple of those. And I'd like to dedicate this reading to Dick Thompson. We miss you. Speaking of the election, this is 2 days after. Yesterday was the day after. Here's a poem called The Day After. The first day after. It's important. The first day after. The first day after the party's over, always the hardest, every time. Every single bottle emptied, gathered in a blue bag, ashtrays washed, put away. The stereo lid propped open like an open coffin, but no music. Sometimes dull rain taps against gray windows or floorboards creak as if the spirits of departed friends are dancing still. Children, Parents wander dark halls, oddly silent. Their thoughts sluggish at best, moods low at the bottom of a big hill. Waiting. Thank you. And on a little more strengths positive, from a little more strengths positive perspective, here's a piece called, it's a poem called Every Day, a Poem. Every day, a poem, the many minutes, arranged into as pleasing a composition as can be. The opening, borrowing from everything, has ever gone before, every character present from the first beat. Especially the narrator, a voice at least, an enveloping intelligence, one particular consciousness, the limits of a universe. Complete with distant galaxies, bubbling contentedly away, vast tracts of black space, tiny spaceships, zip, zip, all this resisting meaning. Closer to home, weather systems, television, good intentions, bad decisions, stage directions, plot twists, right up to the minute. And the music, God of energy, thank you. Thank you for the rhythm swinging, syllables like drumsticks or a wedding ring against the steering wheel. A kind of soundtrack, however brilliant or exhausted, gray music like rain, except words, the cryptic melody of letters. Thank you.
My name is Mabel Howard, and the mic is up a little high, but I guess it's fine. Tonight I'm going to read three short poems from Ian S. Thomas. Whenever reading his work, I feel as if I'm the writer, so it's really easy to connect. So I hope that you connect as well. The first one is called Reversal of Misfortune. I always thought that I was sick and you were the cure. But everyone gets things backwards sometimes. And this one is called The Twins. I like to think that somewhere out there, on a planet exactly like ours, two people exactly like you and me made totally different choices, and that somewhere we're still together. That's enough for me. Thank you. And the final one, I feel as if this is my everyday. It's called The Grand Distraction. And every day, the world will drag you by the hand, yelling, "This is important, this is important, and this is important, and this is important. You need to worry about this, and this, and this." And each day, it's up to you to yank your hand back, put it on your heart, and say, "No, this is what's important." Thank you.
Hello, guys. I'm Nisi. Like Chuck, I wrote a poem post-election. I finished it up this morning. I'll be honest, I really didn't watch the election results, the Decision 2020 stuff. I chose me first, so I just didn't want to get involved. But any further than I have this whole last 8 months working on campaigns, on the Biden campaign. So I took a day off for myself on the 3rd. I voted weeks ago, so I'm not sure about you guys, but this poem I wrote is called The American. I started to learn from you guys and started titling my poems, so. I'll just read 2. This one is kind of long, but I'll read 2. The American. The city that never sleeps is now in hibernation, and the man who once owned Manhattan is now running the nation. You see the State of the Union if you turn on any station. The New Yorkers created this monster. Let them fix this situation. So we are now here, a few days post-election, and we still are unclear about America's selection. You see, the events of this pandemic brought this country to its knees, and no matter what the outcome, masses of citizens will not be pleased. If I screw up my ballot, it's gonna be trouble. Thinking anxiously as I waited, did I check mark or fill in the bubble? Impure ballots, they'll be adjudicated. The mail-in versus in-person voting stirred up quite a debate. And for history, it is worth noting our newest scandal, Arizona's Sharpie Gate. He pushes rhetoric, America first. That's the mantra. And verify certificates of birth from President Obama. Or Proud Boys, stand by at the polls. Just intimidation thoughts and prayers. Tweeting nonsense like a troll shouting, "Stop the counting, the Dems are unfair." See, this year has been messy. Our leader evoked so much hate, refusing to honor the Constitution and electing to sue the swing states. Trump is hurt and angry with these results. Melania, she's sick and tired of our insults. And as a mother, I can sympathize with sweet baby Barron, sending prayers for him. Maybe on his behalf, they'll get a manger and a room in the inn. Because just a few days post-election, we must repent and heal from within. We know the weights of our sins. See, the rest of the world is a witness, and they close their borders to the American. Thank you. This one on a lighter note, it's not mine. It is by one of my favorite artists, Janelle Monáe. So I'll read an excerpt from Dorothy Dandridge's Eyes. It is too late. You're hypnotized. She's got Dorothy Dandridge's eyes. And you love her, you love that girl. In your eyes, we see tiny white snowcaps of mountains. She's got Dorothy Dandridge's eyes, the purple glow of distant stars, the blue shine of metal, black metal, rose petals falling slowly through the sunny air, orange clouds, pink moons on the tongue of the sun. Who knew heaven could kiss just like this? Thank you.
I don't know why I moved this here, but I did. I want to thank everybody again. It's kind of hard to get out of the house some days, so the fact that we're all here and the fact that people are watching at home is just really great. Once again, we got to listen to some wonderful poems from some wonderful poets. Yeah, I mean, it's been a long couple days. This has definitely been the highlight for me of these long couple days, so really glad that everybody made it. Again, I want to thank the library for letting us be here, and I want to remind everybody about the symposium on the 17th of November at 6 o'clock. You can find that on our Facebook. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again next week.